Hey guys, it's Cam from Craft and Tailored, and in this episode of What Is on My Wrist, we're talking about a 1971 Rolex day-date, also known as the President, reference 1807. The reason why we're talking about this one on this episode is it has one of the most rare matte dials that you can find in a Rolex day-date, and the nickname for this dial is called a Confetti dial. So I wanted to take you into this reference. I wanted to talk about the dial. It's really special, it's really, really interesting. And 1807s are essentially an 1803, but they're a little bit different as they have what is called a bark finish. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the bark finished watches and kind of give this one a little bit of time in the limelight because it's super cool and very rare, and it's a confetti dial. David, throw up confetti, lots of confetti, so much freaking confetti. It's a confetti dial. So let's dive into the details and let's start talking about it. So the reason why these watches with this type of velvety, I guess multicolored type of dial are called confetti dials is because it looks like confetti. So if you take a loop, actually what's even kind of cooler about this is you don't even really need a loop to see it. If you look at, the dial, even at like this distance, you can see that the dial portion is, a brown coloration, but even at a glance, you can see that the dial is made up of all these like little tiny particles. So it's yellow, it's red, it's orange, it's brown, it's kind of like a gold color. There's all these little tiny particles that make up this base portion of the dial. It also gives the dial kind of more of like a velvety type of look, more of like a matte type of look, whereas in most day-dates out of the era like a 71, 1803, the dial is going to either be black, glossy, or like champagne colored, or have kind of like a radial type of look to the dial instead of this kind of matte, velvety type of look. As I was saying, the two most common colors for confetti dials are going to be this kind of oxbloody, orangey, coppery brown, or there's actually a black variant that is commonly seen in white gold day-dates. Also, there's a couple of date just models that are out there, like 1601s, that will have this dial. So they're very rare. I've only seen a few of them. Matter of fact, this is, I believe, the second confetti dial that we've ever had in our collection, and they rarely come up for sale. So the confetti dials are definitely sought after amongst the collector community, and finding one is pretty hard. So really honored and love having this one in our collection. So the Rolex Day-Date, as you guys probably know, it's one of the most iconic and beautiful watches in the Rolex luxury catalog, meaning that Rolex Day-Dates are always made out of, okay, I shouldn't say always, there are, I think, less than 10 models known that were produced in stainless steel, but most date just, if not all date just outside of the early prototype versions in steel, are made in precious metal, meaning white gold, platinum, yellow gold, rose gold, purple gold, green gold, all kinds of gold. The Rolex Day-Date earned the nickname the President after it had been rumored that Dwight D. Eisenhower was wearing a Day-Date. In fact, he wasn't. He was wearing, I believe, a date just. So in any case, the name stuck, and there have been presidents that have worn Day-Dates throughout history, but Eisenhower wasn't wearing one, for the record. Essentially, the confetti dials, we only see confetti dials in the 1970s, and there are a couple different variants of confetti dials. Also, what's interesting is in some Tudor snowflakes, there is a confetti dial variant that is made up of like multicolors to create kind of this velvety, texture. This specific example is a nice example. We're going to talk a little bit about the bark finish, but essentially there is a nickname called bark, and essentially what it is it's this type of finishing on day-dates that in the center link of the President bracelet, you'll have kind of like this like bark or wood picture. It looks like the bark on a tree. The other thing that you'll see is a barked bezel too. So the bezel has a factory bark kind of finishing. And it's kind of one of those things where you love it or you hate it. I think for me, it just depends on the watch. I don't mind it. I like variants in the watches that I wear, and I think this one is just kind of cool. The bracelet on this has all of its original links, so it's a little bit loose on me, but hidden clasp, President bracelet. The cool thing about this is the bracelet itself is dated 3 of 71, so third quarter 1971, and the watch is also from 1971. So kind of cool that the bracelet obviously matches the bark finishing on the bezel, and it's the original bracelet that came with the watch. Really fun watch to wear. I personally like wearing things that are unique and different. You know, at a glance, somebody might say, oh, that's a president. And then somebody might say, oh, that's cool, that's a bark president. It's really gonna take a connoisseur or somebody that really lives in the details like myself to really appreciate the confetti finishing. And it's really eye-catching, especially in the light. It's just, I find myself staring at this watch and just kind of getting lost in the particulates that make up the base portion of the dial. So in any case, really cool variant. We just did a blog post as well about different dial variants for the Rolex Day Date. There's been some really interesting dial variants that you only see in the Rolex Day Date line of watches. And so we highlighted that in an article. I'll provide a link in the description below so that you guys can check that out. And we also did talk about the confetti dial variants in that series as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also be sure to follow us on Instagram. That's where we post all the latest and greatest updates and all the new stuff that's hitting the site. And yeah, I'll also provide a link in the description below so that you can check this one out, and be sure to check out the blog post. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next one.